And welcome back to the CSS podcast. I am your host, Dave Wolfers. It's good to be back after last week. I missed. I apologize for that, but we were in Pennsylvania taking on the Penn State Lady Beavers in a couple of softball games. We split there, so that was a good trip for us. In the middle is Charlie Crawley, and to my right, your left, is Sam Wolfers. This is podcast number 81, folks, and it's titled the Reds Preseason Awards Prediction. So for the topic of the week, we will be coming to you and giving you our predictions on the Cincinnati Reds season and who we think will win some of the major awards for them. But before we begin, was your week?
It was good. Can't complain too much. So.
That is good.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm on spring break, so my week starting out good. Beginning of spring break, so that's even better. Next weekend, I'll be, the end of spring break, so I'm in a different kind of mood. But yeah, no complaining right now. Sun shining, little cold, but sun shining, so that's always makes it nice too.
That is true. Spring break is nice. Sun is shining, and the Bearcats are winning finally. I mean, in the week that was, Bearcats made the NIT, and they took first two games in the NIT. If they played like they did yesterday all year, they could be in. They could have been in the big dance, but we'll see. We'll see where they go. But your takes on the two victories so far?
I don't have any. I haven't watched a single second because it's not in tournament. It's what the NIT stands for. So not wasting my time watching that.
Yeah, I haven't watched any because I don't have ESPN Plus, and that's what it's been on. But yeah, I mean, you said it. If they would have played like they've played these last two games, I mean, Seamus has been on a roll shooting, and that's been their issue. They haven't had a consistent shooter all season, and he's been so up and down, and so it's we'll see what they do the rest of the tournament. But bigger question is transfer portal was on. What's what we're waiting for news from teams that players who might go. I mean, Xavier's included in that same thing. Who's staying, who's going, all that kind of stuff. I can't imagine Victor Locken's back. I mean, they didn't play him. He didn't get on the court yesterday and look very disinterested and sit outside the huddle most of the time. So he would be one candidate, I would think, that will not be back. CJ Frederick, I mean, he wasn't even really here anyway. So who knows what? I mean, he's already transferred 3 times or 4 times, so who knows? Yeah. So I think that right now is a bigger question, kind of in the next month or so. Who's going to enter the transfer portal? What does that mean? And UC needs they need a shooter. They need someone else to take on that role, knock shots down. I think athletically, I think they're okay. Defensively, they're okay. Big man should all be coming back, big guys. So yeah, just a matter of finding some shooters, or at least another shooter.
Yeah, I agree with that statement, and I just think it's good. I know the NIT is not as prestigious as it used to be, but I still think it's good for a team to work out some of the kinks, extra practice time. And still game time. And like you said, if Locken is not back, okay, you can start your little rotation without him and see where we're at, moving forward and what you need as far as some replacements and stuff like that. So, we'll have to see what it brings. I know there's a lot of kids in the portal already, and not very many decent kids. I mean, good players, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're in the tournament, you wouldn't. I mean, I haven't heard really guys that are currently in NCAA tournament
Right.
have entered or
Right.
whatever. So you're waiting on
No, I just
on
saw the
those
stat,
shoes to drop. But
like they listed like 10 of the best players in the portal, and I think the leading scorer had like 2.3 points a game or something like that, and it was just no names. I mean, I couldn't tell you who they were, where they're from, anything like that. So it's just one of those, I guess, early portal things, and kids have to get their names in that so that they can get picked up sooner than later, I guess. I don't know, but it's just kind of confusing that you're allowed to go in the portal when the tournament's going on, but it is what
it makes no sense.
Yeah, but the NCAA doesn't make any sense anymore. So, excuse me. But anyhow, let's move on to FC Cincinnati. Got a victory last night. Did they play the New York Football Club, or was that?
Yeah.
Did I see that wrong? Okay, New York Football Club, 1-0, correct?
Yep.
All right. Recap. Who wants to take it?
I mean, I didn't watch the game, but another, kind of what we figured it would be this season, rely on the defense, and you're going to win, 1-0 or maybe 2-1 at best. So that's what they did. They won 1-0. They're still unbeaten in MLS play. So, I mean, that's a good thing. They're still on a really good pace, to make the playoffs and do what they did last year. But if Acosta's not making something happen, the going forward on offense it's tough to watch him right now. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't think they have a player in house. I think any change is going to have to wait until June or July when the transfer window opens back up, and they have to try and find somebody else. I think we all kind of anticipated Vasquez was going to leave, but losing Barrial with, like a week before the season, I think had a bigger impact.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're having a little technical difficulties there with Sam, Mike.
I think.
But probably you want to.
Yeah, I was. It's how FC Cincy until they get some new blood in the attack. I think it's just how they're going to have to win. I mean, they're going to have to win 1-0, 2-1 games. They're not scoring 4 or 5 goals. Not with how they're playing right now. Somehow they, even with all that, they're leading MLS. They have the most points in MLS with 11 points. So season and now, which obviously ridiculous to say, but if it did 5 games in, they would win the Supporter Shield again. So even though they can't score, Barrett hasn't. I don't think has a goal yet in at all. Period. I don't think he scored. Bupenza maybe has. I don't know if he has any MLS goals. I think he might have scored against that Jamaican team, whatever. But he's been very. He hasn't done much. Costa has all the goals for the most part, and a few defenders. I think have a goal off of set pieces. So it's. I don't know. I guess it's power of Pat Noonan and Acosta and whatever else they got going on, and the defense. I mean, obviously the defense is playing well. So yeah, I think for the foreseeable future, this is what they are. They're very much a defensive-minded team. They cannot let up more than a goal because I don't think they will score more than 2 max at this right now. I mean, it can change, but
yeah, I think when the weather breaks, they'll score some more goals, hopefully. But talking about defense, that's a good segue into the Bengals and their free agent signings. A couple of defensive players on the side there, and as far as that goes, what's your confidence level with these new free agent signings? How is that going to shore up our defense? side of the ball, and who are you most intrigued by, or who do you think the best signing was so far?
Defensively, just defensively or
Yeah,
overall?
defensively. Yeah, defensively. I mean,
Probably Sheldon Rankins in terms of interior pass rush, which they were really bad at last year. That's kind of his specialty. So I'm excited about that. Get some push up the middle. If you do that, obviously that helps out the ends. Hendrickson, and hopefully, why am I drawing a blank? The guy for the number one
Hubbard.
pick from last year. No, not Hubbard. He
Oh,
can't. He
oh.
couldn't sack me if I was a quarterback. No, the guy from Clemson last year,
Oh,
Murphy. Yeah, I mean, he needs to
Miles.
step up. I mean, he's got to start taking Hubbard's. I mean, the fact you mentioned Hubbard, he needs to start taking Hubbard snaps this season. Get push and pressure on the quarterback, which is the name of the game. So if you put Sheldon Rankins in there too, and he's getting push up, up the middle, that's definitely, that to me would be the most exciting element of what they've done so far from a defensive standpoint. The safety pickups are both good. I mean, Dax Hill struggled mightily last year. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but the safety room is definitely stronger now. I think they still need another. I mean, again, they got the draft, but I think they still need another cornerback. I think they need obviously another defensive tackle. They don't have a run stuffer in there. But are they better today on defense than they were a month ago? Yeah. Or 2 weeks ago, or whenever free agency started.
Right.
Are they better today than they were at the beginning of free agency? Absolutely. Even with the defections. I mean, DJ Reader. So, yeah.
So, Sam, we were just talking about, the free agent signings, defensively, what's your confidence level, and, who are you looking, and what, who do you look at on that side as the key piece to the free agent signings?
Yeah, the new free agent sightings, probably Rankins, just to hopefully he can replace some of Reader's production there. I was trying to read up on him a little bit. He's not the same type of player Reader is. He's a little more of an interior pass rusher. So, I mean, if he can get pressure on the quarterback, that's something we didn't have from anybody other than Hendrickson. So, just somebody else to get pressure is good. And, I guess we'll have to get more of a run stopping DT either free agency or through the draft. But I think Rankins is the most important free agent pickup so far.
Yeah, I would agree. I know on this podcast back last year, free agency, when we let Von Bell walk, I said I think we were going to miss him more than Jesse Bates, and I think we did. Just because, I mean, that presence that Von Bell had, that intimidator, laying the wood on people, we didn't have that in the secondary. And I think that with him coming back, I think it's going to be a lot better in the back end. But I tend to agree that Rankins is probably the key on the defensive side of the ball. But then, Brown on the other side, right tackle, I think that's a good pickup for us, at least for 1 year.
Yeah, he kind of allows, an offensive lineman to be drafted and have a chance to learn and develop before they're thrown into the fire. But I just don't trust the Bengals to make the right choice there with an offensive lineman. They just haven't in the past, right. I don't know how many years. I mean, Jonah Williams has been the best one they've drafted in maybe, the last 7-8 years. And he was just kind of at best, and he was the number 11 overall pick. So I don't have real faith in our front office to draft an offensive lineman. But, maybe they take somebody.
I got faith we can draft an offensive lineman.
Well,
I don't know if I have faith.
Draft a productive offensive lineman.
Yeah.
Draft someone who's not Cedric Ogbuehi,
Yeah.
or Billy Price or, any of the other 13 offensive linemen
Fisher
drafted and hasn't done anything.
Yep.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah. There's another one.
Yeah. Bobby Hart.
Yeah.
We
Bobby
don't
Hart.
draft him.
Yeah. But we kept bringing him back. Stick Bobby back there. He might do some damage. All right, moving forward then with the Bengals. I mean, draft needs. Obviously, Crawley, you hit on it a little bit. Another interior defensive tackle, probably some offensive linemen. Then, bless you. And then, what else do you think? I mean, where do you think we're going with our 18th pick? Let's throw that out there first. Where do you think we're going with the 18th pick?
I mean, I think it comes down to either your right tackle, who would be the right tackle, or your interior defensive lineman. That would be my thought. Whoever is the best of those positions. Tackle draft is supposed to be pretty good this year, so there's multiple guys who, I mean, they're talking 4 or 5 guys could be first rounders this year. Defensive tackle interior is not good this year at all. There's like 2 names or something that I'm seeing. The Texas kid and Illinois, I think, is the other one.
Johnny.
Yeah, but I would think that would be, they would go with whoever the best available is in those 2 positions at 18.
I would think that's where I would lean to. Seen a lot of Bengals people are saying, don't be surprised if it's a wide receiver or corner. Just because they, especially corner, Bengals tend to draft somebody in anticipation of them replacing somebody later. I mean, Hilton's probably on his last leg here with the Bengals, so I wouldn't be surprised if they take another corner. And I mean, with the whole T, Boyd's probably gone, even though he hasn't re-signed anywhere. And who knows with T, so they might try with wide receiver too. I don't think either of those 2 would be the smart play. I think you should go right tackle or defensive tackle, as much as I don't trust him to draft a right tackle. But I think you still have to.
Yeah, I mean, as much as, I think that's the smart play at 18, especially, if we don't trade T before the draft or during the draft, and try to move up and get Brock Bowers, say, if he's sitting there at 16, 15, right before the Colts, get him. That might be something interesting there, but I'm not 100% sure they will pull the plug on that. I think they're content with having T for 1 year and letting them go bye-bye after that. And, they did bring back the Crocodile Hunter, so, we've got that 4th receiver slot filled. And I think Chuck Sizzle will be the slot receiver, taking Tyler Boyd's place. And then you got T and Jamar. So I think, the offense, I think it'll be fine, as long as Burrow stays upright. I do agree. I think we need to go either interior tackle and then offensive side of the ball, as far as the line to shore it up. But
I would say one thing. Go on. Sorry, go.
No, go ahead. I was going to wrap it up, but go ahead.
I was going to say I said in terms of the draft, if they draft a receiver first with the first pick, the 18th pick or whatever, that tells you what they think about Chucky Boy and Harvard Boy. Because if so that tells you right there what their thoughts are, really. Because if they think those guys are legitimate, then there's no reason to draft a wide receiver first round. You got too many other important areas. If they do, then that tells you they don't have enough confidence in them. So,
unless it all depends too how the board shapes out, right? I mean, it could. I mean, but
there have to be a run on those tackles because I guess there's 4 or 5 of them. So,
right, and a run on quarterbacks, run on tackles, a couple cornerbacks, and then next thing you know, you've got like Rome Odunze sliding down, Brock Bowers sliding down. It would be interesting. It would be interesting, to say the least. But But moving forward here in a couple of weeks, we're going to actually do a live draft simulator game on the podcast, and then we'll all take turns of filling out our 7 rounds there with the Bengals draft, and we'll see who comes the closest and who might win the draft. We'll put it out there and let you all vote on it. So stay tuned for that in a couple of weeks as we get a little closer to the draft. Speaking of getting closer, opening day is only 4 days away. Thursday is the day here in Cincinnati, national holiday, and it'll be exciting to see the Reds on opening day and how they perform. But here recently, since the last time I joined you about 2 weeks ago, the plague has hit the Reds. Right, we've had people dropping left and right. Not making, the opening day roster because they're on the IL. You had the freak injury to TJ Friedel, and then you have McLean, diving for a ball in practice and has to get a second opinion on the shoulder. I haven't heard anything more on that. And then you had Edwin Arroyo diving back into first base, tore his labrum, and had to have season-ending surgery on that. So it's just been, ever since the Marte suspension, it's just like boom, 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 boom. There's been a black cloud over this franchise. And something I heard last week when all this stuff was coming out is, and this is the question I posed in our agenda, is like, does MLB need to look at spring training the same way the NFL approaches training camp, spring training games? Whereas, for years, spring training has been an opportunity for the guys to get back into shape. That's why they had a month and a half of spring training, 30 games. These guys before the $1 million contracts, they were working odd jobs here and there, a second job, and up until probably the 80s, and they needed this time to get in shape, get in baseball shape. But these guys have $1 million bodies, they get taken care of, and I think I don't know. I don't know. I just want to hear your thoughts on, should they shorten the spring training, or, do they need to look at it a little differently?
Yeah, that's something I never really thought of. I do think that's a good point. I mean, the whole month of spring training does seem a bit excessive, especially the way the guys are, training through the off season. I mean, they're not, sitting around drinking beer, smoking cigarettes, in their time off. They're still active and putting in work. I think the only pushback that maybe players would have would be from pitchers, who probably, they would say that they need that time to actually ramp up and get up to game speed. Just because, their bullpens and stuff through the winter, facing live hitting is probably, their big thing. But from a hitter fielder perspective, I would say, the less games, if you can get it to 20 games, 22 games, that's probably a better number. I mean, from a roster construction standpoint as well, you don't need that many games to figure out who's going to make the big league roster. These position battles are for 1, 2, maybe 3 spots at most. I think you can kind of figure that out. And, the way baseball works, you're not outright cutting guys. You're just having them in AAA. So if you made the wrong decision, you call the guy up, you send the guy down. It's not that big of a deal. I would definitely be in favor of it. I just never considered something like that before.
Yeah, I mean, I would be okay with it as well. Shorten spring training. I think a question that I've heard and I've thought of is they've they limit the innings of all the pitchers. Everything is, especially pitching. Everything is so porcelain. Porcelain china. Don't touch. Don't let them throw more than 60 pitches or 4 innings or whatever. I mean, even in the regular season, later in the season, some of these guys are being limited to 90 pitches and 5 innings or whatever it is. But the injuries are way, way more than they used to be. So, so my question is in reality, are they doing the wrong thing? They didn't, when guys were throwing, 250 innings, and I mean, guys were doing that all the time. Guys were winning 30 games in a season, just stuff like that. I mean, they weren't getting injured. Now, is it that, or is it just guys are so torqued up that they're so, they lift weights way, way more. They're too strong almost, and they're throwing 100 miles an hour, and your arm really shouldn't be doing that. And so, no matter what they did in terms of spring training, in terms of protecting them, they're going to get hurt no matter what. And so that's the question I have going forward. I don't think it would ever be answered because I think of the money, they won't reverse it. I mean, they won't go back to letting guys throw a lot more pitches and a lot more innings.
Right. And that's, was one of the things that I was going to bring up too, is like, all these guys are supposed to be in tip top shape and they don't need, that's an argument, they don't need this long to get in shape, but more injuries are happening, especially to pitchers. But for us now, it's position players as well, when they were freak injuries. So, looking at that, I think it's a question of, these kids are specializing at a young age. They're throwing a heck of a lot more baseball than what, the pitchers in the 70s or 80s even did, because, a lot of them were multi-sport athletes. They played, 2-3 sports. They weren't playing baseball year round. Off season, they were in the gym shooting basketball or wrestling, or, in the fall they were playing football or, something else. But they, they weren't overusing that arm. That, to me, that's one. And two, I do think that these guys are, bigger, faster, stronger. So they do produce more torque in their arm. They do produce, the whip that they have on their arm and the rotation that they're trying to get on, the spin on a curveball or a slider or something like that is, it's just, puts more stress on their body. And these pitchers are going out there doing that at 100% effort for, their one inning or their inning and a half, whatever they have, versus back in the day where they knew they were going 7-8 innings and they had to, gear it down a little bit and not throw as hard as they could every single pitch.
They had to pitch.
Yeah, they had to pitch.
They didn't weren't just out there throwing. Yeah.
Right. And I think that's part of the issue. But who am I? It's just, somebody who played the game and, taking a step back and looking out that way. And you see it, you see these kids just throwing as hard as they can and say, see if you can hit it, that type of thing. But no, that's good points all around. And, we'll come back to it as, the season approaches, and hopefully, McLean, after his second opinion, it's not as serious as it looks. But David Bell, I think, came out today pregame, said 4 to 6 weeks. I think it was 4 to 6, or it might have been 6 to 8 for TJ.
6 to 8. 6 to 8, but trending more towards 6.
Okay. And that's before he goes to rehab assignment, right?
Yeah, he just said that he's able to. He's already able to do some things that are ahead of schedule with his hand and his wrist.
Good. Chalk one up from Kremchuk, I guess, huh? So the only one. There we go. All right. That wraps up the week that was. Moving forward, we get to talk real baseball here next week with the opening day and, a couple of games on the slate there against the Natties. So hopefully we can be 3-0 first place, wire to wire. That's the goal for the season here. And with that, we're going to turn it to the producer. He had the infamous trivia question last week, and he's going to review it, and we'll see where we go with that. And then after that, Sam will take the trivia question.
Yeah, so the trivia question last week was, who was the Reds pitcher that struck out Tom Selleck in the 1991 spring training game? And the answer is Tim Layana, I believe is how you pronounce his last name.
Tim Layana. You remember him, Carly, number 47?
I do remember the name, yeah, but I mean, I could have guessed for the next 24 hours, and I wouldn't have guessed Tim Layana.
Neither would I.
Right, exactly. So,
and I know some pretty obscure Reds, but not Tim Layana.
yeah, I remember him. I mean, I remember him. I couldn't tell you one thing about him other than he was a pitcher.
Yep. All right. So he stumped him. Good job, producer. Oh, boy. All right. Make sure I'm not gone anymore, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, we just know who not coming up the next trivia question when you are. So.
Well, if you guys had come up with a trivia question, I would have had to give one.
I had one. I had a couple.
You said that you had one and you wanted to do it.
Yeah, I had one.
He had one, and he stumped you. So
He did.
I think he did stumped everyone except for Tim Layana and Tom Selleck. So
yeah. He might have stumped Tom Selleck because Tom probably forgot. All right, let's moving forward here. I think, Sam, you've got this week's trivia question.
yeah, so it's on my phone here. I'm not sure if I can exit and do this all at once here, but I know the question here. I don't remember the answers. So the question is college basketball conference tournaments. So each of the Power 6 conferences, who has won the most conference tournaments for each of those 6 conferences.
Oh.
And so how the stat was broken down, it's of the current. So it's not the old, for the Big 12, for example, since they've been the Big 12. So you're not counting the Big 8 or anything like that. So.
So who was the winner? Who has won the most conference tournaments?
Yep, for each of the 6 power conferences in basketball.
Oh, God. Conference tournaments are
let's go
a little
ACC.
variable too.
I'm gonna say
ACC is going to be. I was going to say Duke.
You'd be correct.
Duke.
It's Duke.
North Carolina.
Duke has North Carolina by 2.
Okay. Big Ten. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know on that one.
Wisconsin.
It's not Wisconsin.
It's not.
I'll say Michigan State, but it probably isn't.
It's Michigan State.
Oh, it is.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Michigan State.
2 for 2. Figured it probably was Indiana up till a certain. Well, I guess the conference tournament's only been around for
Yeah. The
how
Big
many
Ten
years?
has
So
only
Big
been
Ten were the last one,
98.
weren't they?
Yeah.
98.
Okay. Michigan State.
Yeah.
SEC, Kentucky. It's got to be Kentucky.
Yeah, it's got to be Kentucky. And then
Big 12.
Baylor.
It's not Baylor.
Or Texas.
Not Texas.
Oklahoma.
A&M.
Not Oklahoma. No. So
Texas A&M.
pretty
Oh,
obvious.
Kansas.
Yeah.
Yeah, Big 12 is going to
Yeah.
be Kansas.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Pac-12.
Yeah.
That's the one I don't remember.
Nah, not UCLA. Not with the end. Not with the conference tournament. I mean, it could be them, but Oregon.
Pac-12. Nope. Neither of those 2.
Stanford.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if it was no.
Well,
Arizona. Arizona.
Yeah. Arizona. Yep. And then the Big East. There's actually a tie for the Big East. It's 2 teams share it with 8.
Villanova and UConn,
UConn is 1.
but not Villanova.
not Villanova.
Georgetown.
Georgetown is the other one. Yep. There you go.
Yeah, that was the one
All
thing
right.
Patrick Ewing accomplished as the coach.
Yes.
They had that one
Yeah.
one run the conference tournament.
Yep. And they needed it to get in. All right. So there it was. Once again, if you think you can stump us, you can submit a question by going to either YouTube or Instagram or Twitter at Cincy Sports Scene and send us a message. And if we use your trivia question on the air and you stump us, then we'll send you a little parting gift. So go ahead and send it in at Cincy Sports Scene on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, or not Facebook, YouTube, and we can get those questions from you. All right. Now moving forward to our topic of the week. We're going to be making our Cincinnati Reds preseason awards predictions. And, last year we had some fun with this, with coming up with some names for these awards and former Reds players with their awards and, the meaning behind it. So starting off again is the big Corky Miller Comeback Player of the Year award. So let's go with Sam Crawley, and then I'll finish it out. So who do you got for the Comeback Player of the Year?
Yes. So this guy, not so much injury, but production-wise, Tyler Stevenson. I think he's going to have a huge bounce-back year and really show why we thought he was going to be the MVP of the team last year. I think he's going to put up some real good numbers. He doesn't have that, am I going to play first? Am I going to DH? He knows he's catching. And I think that's going to help him in the batter's box as well.
Couldn't agree more.
I'm predicting at least 20 homers, 70 RBIs for Tyler Stevenson.
All right. Crawley, who's your comeback
Well, I
player?
need Stevens to do that because remember my prediction of 9 Reds hitting home runs. Well, one of them suspended for half a season. The other one's arm is falling off, so he's probably not getting to 20.
So Stu better step up.
And the other one has a broken wrist right now, so they got some issues.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So I went with Lodolo. I think he's, both from an injury standpoint and still, I said it this time last year, I think he has the ceiling of being, if he's not freaking injured all the time, to be the best pitcher. He may not be he hasn't the best tools. That's Hunter Green still, but be the best pitcher. And they're saying that in the last couple of weeks, he's been, Lodolo's been on. He's been nasty, and nobody can hit him. And I had listened to Jonathan interview, and he said he could win the Cy Young if he could just stay healthy for a season. So I'll go with Lodolo, both from an injury standpoint and from the hopeful production.
Yeah, I had it down to 2, right? I had our opening day starter, Montas, because if he gives us anything, he could be the comeback player, of the year for the entire National League, pitching 1 inning last year. And if he can come back and give us any production, would be great. But I agree with you, Crawley. I went with Lodolo. I think he is the key. If April 10th when it comes rolling around, if he can get out there on the mound, take the mound and get through the rest of the season, because he hasn't pitched an entire season in the 2 years. So he might be.
He hasn't pitched a combined an entire season.
Right. I know. That's what I'm saying. He might be, limited as far as innings goes. And we don't want to, have a, Andrew Abbott on our hands where he just runs out of gas towards the end of the year. So hopefully, David Bell, I know Tinker Bell will make sure he's, whatever, not pitching too many innings, right out of the gate.
30 pitches.
Yeah, exactly. So Nick Lodolo is mine as well. Okay.
There were some other candidates for that one. I thought of TJ Antone, the fact he made the opening day roster.
Yeah,
that dude has pitched for 2 years. And then Justin Wilson, who somehow made the opening day roster for the Reds. And he did, but But he was again on this. I mean, he's been injured he's with the Reds a couple years ago when he last pitched, and he's been with two other organizations since then. And he comes back and makes the Reds, at least as of now. So,
hey, we got a shout out to Phil Farr here, real quick. He's got a maple and blackberry raspberry swirl creamy. So yes, he got out of the snow in Vermont. Looks like got some ice cream, and good for him. So hopefully he's listening. He's listening tonight. So. All right, our next one is the Big Donkey. Adam Dunn, Sabermetric Award winner. Carly, I'll let you go first.
I'm sticking with who I went with last year, and say even at the end of the year, I stayed with him. And it's Spencer Steer. I think across the board, he does everything, including playing a bunch of positions. I saw he's been taking more ground balls at second base. Now I don't know who the heck plays in the outfield if he's at second. So yeah, just all around be able to play everything, and he's a stat stuffer, and isn't that the Dickie V basketball guy? He's a stat stuffer, so he's in baseball. That's where he fits. So,
and I have Spencer Steer as well. I thought about another player, but I decided to go with the guy who's probably the most consistent across the board. That's for me.
Yeah, I am going to go with another player. I was going to go with Steer, but just kind of, thinking about, the Big Donkey, I'm going to go with CES. I think the power, the walks, the doubles, I think he's going to be there. I think he's going to have a higher average. Yeah,
the bad defense.
Yep. I think he's going to hit for a better average than Adam Dunn did. But I think from, power, on-base percentage, kind of, he should be a DH, but we got another guy there kind of deal. I think it's going to be Spencer Steer. Or CES, sorry, not Steer.
CES. That's who I was. That was my other guy who I was going to go with. But all right, so this one we've got a debate on, so we might need you, the listener, to help chime in. We have the Spud Sabo Rookie of the Year award winner. Now, Crawley wants to change it to the Newcomer of the Year award. Don't know if the rookie.
I just don't know that we're going to have a rookie that we can, look at and be like, that's our Rookie of the Year,
Marte will have 82 games when he comes back, hopefully. Could still put up some great numbers and be the Rookie of the Year.
If he plays. they might throw him in AAA and
they might, right.
Have fun.
It just depends on how our third basemen are doing. 80 games in. But what do we want to do? Do we want to go?
Well, you can just give whoever you got if you got a rookie and just go ahead and do that. I have a rookie and I have a newcomer who I
would give them both.
Okay,
let's give them both then. If you got both, give them both.
My rookie, I have Novelli Marte / Connor Phillips. That's where I was going because don't know if Connor Phillips is coming up. Hopefully he's not. That means our 5-6 pitchers can pitch the entire season. But I went with Marte because he has 80 games, and I was thinking of rookie, not newcomer. So that's who I'm going with. And if I had to go with newcomer, I would go with Frankie Montas.
I think newcomer, I'd go with Candelario. Just power bat in the middle of the lineup, veteran to kind of spread out the young players there. Rookie of the Year, I want to say Blake Dunn, but I just don't know if he's going to get the call up or not. But I think he'd have the biggest impact rookie wise because we need kind of somebody that can play center field, especially if Friedel's out.
Bubba.
Oh, great. I think I'd rather see Blake Dunn, see what we got there.
Crawley, who do you got?
If we're going rookie, I went Connor Phillips. I think he's got the stuff and he just needs to rein it in. And I think the experience pitching in the MLB last year is going to help him a lot. He's been pretty good in spring. So rookie-wise, I went him, and newcomer with Nick Martinez. I think he's going to fill that void where right now he's a starting pitcher, and even though he has a rib displaced, but whatever. I guess you can pitch with a rib out of place.
It doesn't hurt him when he's pitching. It's only
I guess.
So.
But I think he's going to play an important role because he's going to be able to be the long man, starter, reliever, like kind of that. It's a massive upgrade from the dude they had last year, who was the guy. I don't even remember his name anymore. He was pretty decent at times. No. It's only last like 3 weeks.
Ben Lively.
So Martinez is so much better than Ben Lively. So, and we relied on him way too much. So Martinez is a legitimate MLB pitcher right now. So throwing with him.
Preface that by saying right now, yeah. So, all right, our next one. So Sam, you're up for the Mario Soto most valuable pitcher of the year.
I think I went with Hunter Green last year. I'm going with Hunter Green again this year. I know he's not getting the opening day start, but I think he's the highest potential pitcher that we have. He's got the potential to have the best stuff. I think as long as he doesn't get too reliant on his fastball, I think he's set to have that breakout year where you're like, yep, here's the ace that we've been looking for.
I like that pick, but I went with Nick Lodolo. If he's going to be the comeback player of the year, then I think he's probably going to be our pitcher of the year. I think he will be pitching really well, and I think he just has the stuff to get both lefties and righties out.
I went with Hunter Green. A lot of basically what Sam said. This is his third year. I mean, it's time. It's no more. He's young. He doesn't have experience now. I'm tired of excuses. So it's time for Hunter Green to step up. So, he's the one with the contract. I mean, they have they actually invested in him, faith in him. So I'm going Hunter Green.
All right. We've got our famous Brandon Drury. You won't be here by the All-Star break MVP. And I went with
your turn.
CES. Yeah, it's my turn.
I got skipped, I guess.
I went with CES, I think. Say what? Did I skip you?
I got skipped, I guess.
So. Sorry. Go ahead, Carly.
No, you already said a name. So.
Yeah, so I went CES. I think he's going to produce, going to hit 30-plus bombs, probably 30 doubles. He's going to be that power bat in the middle of the lineup, extend it a little bit for us. I just think he's going to have a year. I really do. And they're going to be saying, Joey who? Come January. They're going to be like, who's that Joey kid that used to play first base for us? All right, Carly, go.
I came down to two names, and he was one of them, but I went with the other one. I went with Ellie just because I think I really do think the Reds are going to go where Ellie goes this year. If he is 80% of his potential, he's the best player on the team, hands down. 80%. So I think if he's last year or barely better than last year, if he's 30% of his potential, I think the Reds are not going to have the year we're hoping or at all. So I think he's MVP and most important and most influential and all those words you want to attribute to the core of the team and where the team's going to go. So I'm going with him.
Yeah, I had it down to two names. Ellie was one of them, but I think I'm going to go with Spencer Steer, just because I think he's going to be the most level. He's not going to be the 330 hitter, but he's going to hit 280, 25 homers, 80 RBIs. I think Ellie's he's going to have too many ups and downs. I could see him having a month where he hits 210, followed by a month where he hits 400. And I think Spencer Steer is going to just be that level presence that they need to kind of balance that out. So that's why I'm going with Spencer Steer.
Can't go wrong there. All right. So since we skipped Crawley, we'll go back to Crawley here for this one. The Pedro Bourbon Rubber Arm Award, or the Tinkerbell
Right.
Rubber Arm Award, because
Yeah.
we want to see, how many times Tinkerbell actually tinkers with these pitchers.
Well, this one, I was, thinking of for a little bit, and I heard an interview the other day by David Bell, which is unfortunate because he annoys the crap out of me anytime he's talking. So he's worse than Nick Kroll at this point. I mean, he's not an okay manager. He just should not be talking, being interviewed. It's just awful. I'd rather listen to Andy Dalton. But anyway, so I heard him, and he said this dude. Again, this is why this annoys the crap out of me. He said this dude could be the best reliever in the whole National League. So, I mean, granted, he really should be like the 400th reliever in the National League. But anyway, he thinks highly of this guy, and I picked this guy last year for the same award. So I'm sticking with him. Best splitter in the whole. I mean, according to the Reds, the best splitter in the history of Major League Baseball. Fernando Cruz, I'm going with. So I think they're going to throw him out there like 6 times a week to pitch. So
Especially early until Lodolo comes back and they got to send somebody down.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm going Fernando Cruz, potentially, according to Bell, the best reliever in the National League.
All right. Sam?
I'm going with a lefty here. I'm going with Brent Suter. Pretty much for the same reason. I could see him being used, every game, honestly, because there's going to come a time where 2 lefties are up in the inning and David Bell's going to trot him out there in the 6th or 7th, and I could see him easily racking up 70, 80 appearances this year.
Yeah, that's who I picked as well. And it, I was hoping that, he would, be about 65 appearances, but with Sam Moll and Alex Young on the IL right now, he's the only lefty in the bullpen.
And Justin Wilson. That's why they kept him.
He's the only lefty in the bullpen. Justin Wilson, should be Luke Weavered, okay? Or
right now he's on the team
until Jabot comes back, or Maul is ready.
Well, yeah, but I would think it'd be Maul or Young to come back because he's the other lefty.
He's the other lefty,
right.
So he's the guy that goes on day 4 after Suter's been out there 3 straight days.
Right, exactly. Or he goes when we're just getting hammered and mop up rolls, that kind of thing. So that's who I had as well. All right, so let's go back. I guess it's Sam's turn here for the SOB, which stands for the Son of Bob, Executive/Coach of the Year.
Yeah, so last year I went with the AA manager.
That's a good choice.
Yeah, but this year I am going to go, I think, with pitching coach Derek Johnson. I think.
I was hoping you were going to say the AAA coach.
No, yeah, just bump it up one.
Yeah.
Well, no, all the prospects, everybody's up now. So, I think it's going to be the pitching coach. Just how well he's going to work with the staff. Like, hey, we've got to have somebody that throws 180 innings this year. I mean, please, for the love of God, somebody. I'm tired of our leading starting pitcher throwing 130, 140 innings. Somebody's got to get to 180. So I think he's going to be a key in helping somebody do that. And maybe he can tell David Bell to, hey, hold off. It's only the 4th inning. You don't need to go trot Sam Moll out there. Like let Ashcraft figure this out. We're up 3. You don't need to go running out there in the 4th.
Crawley?
I like that. I like it so much. That's who I picked as well, Derek Johnson. So for the same reasons. I mean, this pitching staff was bad last year. I mean, they did it with glue and Elmer's glue and thread and everything else that Derek Johnson could attach these guys to. And so yeah, if he's got some on paper, so much more talent this year to work with. Let's see what he does with that talent. So I'm gonna go with Derek Johnson. Oh, we We got our first trip, our
Pause.
first social,
Yes, we
first
did.
social of the
We got our
night.
First social, everybody drink, because I have Derek Johnson as well. Mine's for a little different reason, because I think if our pitching staff doesn't perform, I think he's gone. I think they're going to fire him because he has not done a whole lot. I think he's on the hot seat. So I think he knows it. They've got to step it up a little bit, and we'll see. But that's why.
Yeah, I mean, David Bell's not on the hot seat since he just got that extension. So.
Right, so there has to be a scapegoat, and I don't think Freddie Benavides is the scapegoat. So
He was my pick last year.
yes,
Freddie.
he was.
But you thought David Bell was going to get fired.
Yeah.
And he got the opposite.
He got the opposite, right? I had Crawl. That's who I had last year. All right, so Crowley, it's your turn for the Luke Weaver, your favorite pitcher, not on my fantasy team anymore award. Who are you going with? There's quite a few.
There are a few. Not as many as last year, though. Last year was tough. Well, there was a lot of options last year,
right.
Including Luke Weaver. But yeah, this was a little tougher. It's like, who I see just dropping off. So I just went with the pure idea of, okay, who is an okay player going to be on the roster because for whatever reason Bell loves this guy and Dave Wolfers loves this guy. But I do not want him on my fantasy team because he doesn't have a grid average. He doesn't hit home runs, doesn't drive anybody in. He can play good defense, which doesn't help my fantasy team. So Stuart Fairchild is my winner of this year. So yeah.
Well, hey, hopefully.
Matter of fact, I wish they had Tommy Pham instead. I wish he is a free agent right now and replace Stuart Fairchild with Tommy Pham.
Slap your mama, Tommy Pham, not on my fantasy team.
Yeah, so I wish they would bring him back.
Yeah, I hope Stu hope he listens, and he takes this to heart. And that way he gets that big contract extension like David Bell did because you voted Bell in this category, before the last category, because you thought he was going to get fired. So come on, Stu, you got one guy rooting for you. Mine, I'm
sure John Sadak's rooting for him.
Well, yeah,
he roots for everybody.
Yeah. All right, I have the new kid on the block, Santiago Espinola, because
who
he
can't hit.
That is not
Espinal.
Yeah, Espinal. But he can't hit. He can field, but he can't hit. He's worse than Stewie.
He was an all-star a couple years ago.
That's because it was the only one they had.
Stuart Fairchild has never been considered to be even. They had gone down the list down to the clubhouse manager and still haven't got the Stuart Fairchild to put on the all-star team. So
I can guarantee you he was an all-star in his little league teams, his high school teams, some travel ball teams. You don't get it to the major leagues unless you can play. But
I'm just saying, Espinal was an all-star in the major leagues.
Yeah, well, that's every blind squirrel finds an acorn. So. But he will not. I actually almost went with Candelaria because I mean, until 3 days ago, he was. He was playing bingo. 091.
They won't get rid of him because of the contract.
No, but it's on my fantasy team. So that's,
I'm hoping they get rid of Stuart Fairchild. So, not on my fantasy team, but
I'm not, because we won't have a damn thing to talk about on this podcast for 6 months with the Reds.
Well,
all right, Sam.
Yeah, you're not going to like mine either because mine is also Stuart Fairchild. Not on my fantasy team.
Come on.
Hopefully not in my center field either on opening day.
He had a great spring, though.
Yeah, good for him.
Had a great spring.
He made the team. We're talking about him because he's on the team. So, I mean, that was probably his goal. He did it, but he's just not going to make my fantasy team as a result of it. So he probably is on David Bell's fantasy team. David Bell's probably got him in the starting lineup. So I hope he doesn't, because that means he's going to be our everyday center fielder or whatever. But yeah, for me, it's Stuart Fairchild also.
Got to root for the underdog. I got to root for the underdog. So, hey. All right. My turn to go with the Mike Minor League Player of the Year award. I'm going to go with Cam Collier. I think getting in some spring training games this year gave him a little confidence. And, when he was in that, whatever they did, classic, the prospect games or whatever.
Yeah, like the Rising Star game or whatever they called it.
Whatever. He hit the first home run. I think the guy can play. He just needs little seasoning, obviously. But I think being in big league camp this year, I think we're going to see some production out of him at the minor leagues. I think he's going to move up pretty quick since Arroyo is pretty much out. I think he's the guy for me. Sam?
For me, I'm going to go pitcher. I'm going to go with Rhett Lauder. It's not a huge chance, but there's a chance our starters at the big league club are injured. It's a chance he makes some big league starts this year. I hope not. I hope gets a full season of AA, AAA ball, and then we see him full time next year. But in order for us to see him next year or this year, he's going to have to produce. So I'm going to go with Rhett Lauder.
Yeah, I went with Rhett Lauder as well. Same reasons. I'm hoping he's in the minors the whole season, and he's going to be one of the 5 starters for 2025.
I like that pick as well, but you're both wrong. All right. So I guess we go back to Sam here. We've got 3 more. We've got the Dr. Teddy Kremchek, IL award winner. We might have a social on this one. I don't know, but we might. We'll see.
Oh, I mean, there's definitely some candidates already to choose from. I'm going to go with. We know Arroyo's out for the year, he wasn't going to be a big leaguer, so I'm going to take him off the board here. Going with the guy I picked last year, and I think I win because of who I picked last year. I'm going to pick him again this year. He's going to be my pick until he proves me wrong. It's Nick Lodolo. I think if that dude's not wrapped up in bubble wrap on the plane back from Arizona, that's malpractice. He better not be on a Boeing. Let's just put it that way. He needs to be on something else, an Airbus or whatever, and bubble wrap.
Crawley?
Yeah, I came down to hit Lodolo, but I went with the other guy. I went with Antone for a guy who has been out for 2 years, and literally, I think his arm was ready to fall off, and they had to glue it back on there, or whatever. So I went with Antone, but yeah, Lodolo is a great choice. The guy in 2 years has barely pitched. I don't know how many starts he has, but doesn't feel like even 10, even double digits. So, he is. It's all about hope and how good he could be, and he really hasn't done anything in the majors yet. So, but I went with Antone just because, that guy literally has been on the, even more than Lodolo, he's been on the IL. So yeah.
I like both of those, but I was wrong. So I didn't have either of those. I've got the one that represents, Dr. Kremchek, because this guy doesn't trust Kremchek and he wants a second opinion. I went with Matty McClain. Hopefully he's not on that injured list as much. But at the end of the year, had that oblique strain, and then he tweaked it again early in camp, and now he's shoulder, could be surgery, could not be surgery. I don't like, the direction that's going here. And it seems like when our players get injured, it's not like, oh, they're out 6 to 8 weeks and then they're back in 100%. It's Jonathan India. He's injured, comes back, injured
Back
again.
sucks when he comes back and then gets re-injured.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's Lodolo, Antone. I think the Reds need to really look at how our training staff, doctors, are going through recovery processes and what we can do, preventative medicine and and I know they're probably doing everything everybody else is doing and so I'm not blaming them obviously, but sometimes it's nice to point a finger somewhere, but that's who I went with, Matty McLean. Let's hope not, but for once I hope I'm wrong on that. All right, so Crawley, our next one is the Reds record over under. I took an average of there was 4 sports books out there, and it was either 82.5 or 81.5. And we're going, for our purposes, we are going at 81.5. Are you going over or under? And tell me the record.
I feel, unfortunately, this bad juju that's been hanging over the Reds the last couple of weeks with the injuries and just, I don't know. I was very optimistic and excited for the first, coming into the season, and I don't know, just things of the normal Red stuff. It's just the normal Reds thing. It's just we get sucked back into what the Reds all have been for the last 30 years, whatever. So I went with 81. So I'm going under, barely. 81, just a mediocre 500 team.
All right, so they're regressing from last year
by 1 game.
They're regressing. All right.
Yep.
Sam?
So I guess I'm going to be the optimist out of me and Crawley here. I'm going to take the over. I know they've had the injuries, but it's sounding like Friedel's isn't going to be as severe as we thought. McLean does worry me, getting that second opinion. And if he is out for the year, that's going to be a huge blow, especially because Marte's suspended. But I'm still optimistic that the rest of the crew is going to take that next step. So I'm going with 87 wins. So that's 87 and 75. Is that the math?
Yep.
Sounds right. 87 and 75, and they get the 5th place. So that's the second wild card there.
All right. So last year I was the only one that was optimistic, and I had them winning, a lot more games.
To be fair, I think it was 70.
No, I had them.
No, I think you had them at 70, winning 70. That's
No,
still
I had 'em
20
more
something
than that.
games under 500.
No, I had them. I could pull it up real quick if
I had
we
them at
didn't-
62.
And I had them
I
at
think
60.
I
I think I had them at 66 or something.
Yeah.
I think I had them at 72 and whatever. I think they were. I think I said they won. They were going to win 10 more games than they did, and they actually won 20 more games. So
Right.
I was at 72. So I'm optimistic. Not as optimistic as Sam, just because of some of the injuries and things. But I'm going 86 and 76. So they'll be
Wild card,
62.
make the playoffs.
Wild card, yeah. I think they'll. That
Yeah,
actually
84
could win our
84 got
division.
the wild card last year, so
Yeah,
at the final
86
one.
might win our division because
Well,
Sonny
yeah.
Gray is starting the year on the IL with that hammy. So 86 could win. 87, I think, would win it. Because I don't see the Brewers doing much. Pittsburgh scares me, even though I don't think they'll win it, but they scare me, especially if they're all healthy. With Cruz back and Skeens pitching, scares me a little bit there. All right, our last one here is our most important position player. Now, and I'll go first, and I think this guy is probably the most important position player. I think he's probably the most important presence. Now that Votto is gone, I think you need somebody to be that clubhouse leader, somebody who can step up and be the bulldog that needs to be, who can bat leadoff. Since Friedel is out for those 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and this is who I went with last year, Jonathan India. I think he's the glue to this team. He's the one who's going to be the vocal leader, the energy guy. He got the 2-year extension there. I think, he's a brand new dad, so, he's not putting so much stress on himself about winning all the time and beating himself up. I think you're going to see a different player. That's who I went with. So, Sam?
Yeah, I think for me it was between India and then TJ Friedel. I'm going to go with Friedel just because, to me, he's the only center fielder on our team that can actually hit. Stu could play there defensively. I think he'd be fine. Or, Bubba makes the team. He could play defensively, but neither of those guys is going to have any real production at the plate. Stu might have an odd game where he goes 2 for 3, and then he gets named your player of the week or whatever. But, real production, I think it's going to be Friedel. And then defensively, he's the only guy that we have, that can do both in center field. So it's going to be tough the first, month this season that he's not out there. And I think you'll see where we really miss him in the lineup every day.
Yeah, that's a good choice. Crawley, wrap it up. Close us out here.
Yeah, I said this earlier. I went with a guy who I think the whole season basically depends on, and that's Ellie. I think he has the ability to carry this team. He's Ronald Acuna. He's, Mookie Betts. Whatever best players in the game are, he has that ability. So if he is even 80% of that ability, I would be more comfortable in saying 85, 86 wins type thing. If he's 30%, I think the Reds are 81 wins at best. So I think he's the determining factor for the team, at least offensively.
All good choices. Well, next week, it is Easter Sunday. I don't know if we'll be coming to you. We probably won't be coming to you Easter Sunday. We might come Saturday. I don't know if people are available Saturday here, but look for us on YouTube Live. We'll send some stuff out on our Instagram and Twitter feeds and Facebook feeds, letting you know when we're coming live again. But next week's topic, we're going to talk a little bit about opening day experiences and what it means to open the baseball season here in Cincinnati. So, it'll probably be more of just reminiscing and, talking instead of, coming up with famous opening days and things like that. So hopefully you'll tune in and you'll like it. And, if you do like the content that we're providing, and, please make sure you subscribe and hit that like button. That helps us out a little bit. And if you got any suggestions for our topic of the week, please send it to us on Instagram or at Facebook, and also at Twitter at Cincy Sports Scene. So go ahead and do that. Gentlemen, you got anything before we get out of here? Anything?
Oh. Yeah, just go Reds. We got opening day. We love it. Next time we meet, we'll be a couple games in. We'll hopefully, knock on wood, no more injuries, no more catastrophes, and we'll get off to a good start, because the Reds, that's another issue with the Reds, recently has been these awful starts. So
And
they got to
look at the May schedule.
No. We'll see.
Ooh,
Thought the Mets were going to be great. Thought the Mets were going to be great last year, and they were awful. So
yeah, on paper,
yeah,
May
We'll see how
is
everybody
tough on paper. So
I mean, if it's not the Braves and the Dodgers, I don't worry about anybody else.
it's we got Braves and Dodgers.
Well, yeah, I mean, if we're playing them 14 games in May, that'll be an issue.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I know they got Baltimore. I know they have. Shoot, I can't pull it up. There it is. Schedule here, May. Yeah, we've got the Dodgers for 7, Arizona for 6, Baltimore for 3, San Diego for 3, and St. Louis for 3.
So they basically play the Dodgers and the D-backs in May. That's it for them.
Yeah.
So get them out of the way early. Hopefully, they're struggling too, and we can.
Who knows? Shohei might be banned from baseball by then. You don't know.
That would be good. I would be okay with that. Well, I would be okay with it if he gets banned after the 25th, because I got tickets to the 25th. I was like, this is going to play. But if he gets banned, hey, he gets banned because, yeah. But Pete Rose should have had an interpreter, and it would be everything.
No, yep.
He could be in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
All right. On that note, we are going to get out of here, and
always have a fall guy, kids.
Yes, there you go. Words of wisdom, and we don't want the curse of Faye Vincent to come raining down on us. So, or Bart Giamatti. So, with that, I'm Dave for Crawley and Sam. Everybody, take care.
Have a good week.